They'd literally, I'm not joking, they'd be like fall off the chair when I walked into the room because they all would be like stunned. But once you get into the conversation, they immediately connect me with the person who sent the email, with the solution, with the price. Everybody's growing, everybody's having fun, and I think that's how it should be.
This episode is brought to you in partnership with Hareket, proud sponsors of Voices of Breakbulk Middle East. Hareket has been moving the world's heaviest and most complex cargo since 1957. With a reputation for tailor-made engineering solutions. Headquartered in Turkey, they operate across 3 continents, with offices in 28 countries and a team of more than 1,000 specialists. Their work spans engineered heavy lift, project transport, cranes and marine services, supporting oil and gas, petrochemicals, power, renewables, nuclear and infrastructure. Hareket is consistently ranked amongst the world's largest crane and heavy transport companies, with more than 1,000 major projects completed worldwide and strong regional partners like Abu Dhabi Ports. Find out more via the link in the description below. And a huge thank you to Hareket for supporting Project Cargo Professionals. It's Project Cargo Professionals. We are in Dubai for another episode of Voices of Breakbulk Middle East. And today we're with Humeira from Blue Water. Good morning.
Good morning, Luke.
How are you?
Very good.
Nice to see you. Thanks for coming in.
Well, thank you for having me.
Humeira, tell us a bit about your journey in Project Cargo in the Middle East and how you came to head up Blue Water here.
Right, so I started about 23 plus years ago, joined a company called Transoceanic, which was an American family-owned project-specific company. Great experience there. Learned a lot, very seasoned professionals, worked with a lot of great EPCs at the time, your KBRs, Foster Wheelers, Floors of the world back then. And then over a bunch of years, we were acquired by Agility, what turned out to be Agility. So we rebranded to Agility and then worked with Agility for many years. So overall, Transoceanic Agility was about 13 years. And I had the pleasure of moving around across the region, doing different jobs, working with great people, working different opportunities, different levels. Just learned a lot from a lot of mentors, had a lot of mentors over the years. And I thought I just wanted to scale back a little bit. I left a couple of times. I rejoined a couple of times. I said,
Project Logistics, you left? Yeah.
No, I left Agility Transoceanic. And then I decided to go to a little, sort of a regional setup from a global to a regional player. And I joined Kanoo Shipping. And I know a lot of people would think, oh my God, it's a shipping company. But really, we were in Kanoo Logistics and we were a bit of both. And moved Kanoo from being just an agent to being a project forwarder, a local partner, right? So instead of working for forwarders, we started working directly with EPCs. So that's really what I did, set it up from scratch, built the region up, again, had some great colleagues, great managers, great leadership, and was able to train up a lot of good talent. Did that for a couple of years, and then I said, all right, I've had enough of that. Let me go back to the MNC world. And I was lucky enough to join CEVA. That was a great experience. I managed to do a lot of things, good things for CEVA in the region. We were also acquired by CMA. We also got hit by COVID. So very challenging times in CEVA. We had a massive let's say, leadership shift from being a publicly traded company to a family-owned company, because CMA is family-owned. So that culture was a little bit different for us. And then also doing things in COVID without knowing what the world was, going through, and doing these in different locations, different parts of the world. But I think for me, CEVA was growing too big too fast, and I wanted something that gave me a little bit of my own space to do things. We were doing great in CEVA, but when I was approached by Blue Water, I thought it was really, really interesting, because it was almost like coming a full circle. I started from a family-owned business. Transoceanic was based out of New Orleans, and very small, very niche, and that's exactly what Blue Water is you're recognized, you're appreciated, and we love our people, and that's our biggest asset.
And you've obviously got some new people coming in, new CEO.
Yes, we have, so we have our old CEO becoming the new CEO, and we have another gentleman joining us as the CEO. You've obviously read that in the press. So we've got Thomas Beck now as CEO, and then Ryan Foley joining as CEO. So a lot of good things are happening in Blue Water. We're not expanding on the size of some of our other forwarder friends. We're very limited in where we go and how we grow. But I think we're taking the right steps. We're still maintaining the Blue Water values. We're still maintaining the feel, the vibe. Making sure our people are taken care of, making sure we take care of our clients. They're very important to us. We don't do short-term stuff. We are only in it for the long term. And I think that's what we're trying to do. And that's what we're trying to do here in the Middle East. That's what I was hired for. And that's what we're trying to rebuild now from scratch.
And I was reading that you've got a new warehouse facility here in Jebel Ali.
Yes, so we've had that for a little bit of a time.
Tell us about that and why it's important for Project Cargo customers.
So Jebel Ali is basically, it's in the free zone. It's a warehouse with an open yard. So we've got 5,000 square meter of covered space and then 11,000 compacted for heavy lift. And it's suitable for our project clients because they tend to require a space to stage their cargo if their site's not ready and supply is ready but site's not ready, and or the ship's not coming in for a while and they need to take custody of the cargo and whatnot. So we have seen those kind of solutions becoming an advantage for us when we're talking to our clients, and most of them want a one-stop shop solution. And if you can offer that, then that's brilliant. And it's also a great in-transit hub. We've seen a lot of our clients also ask us to hold their cargo in transit while the site in another geographical location isn't ready and they're not, they don't have the approvals, for example, to take it in. So those kind of reasons, I think that having a free zone facility becomes relevant. The warehousing part obviously is for more of the rackable and more of the special, sensitive cargo, but the open yard is all open for business when it comes to project stuff.
And we were talking a little earlier about the fact that you're a woman in what has been a traditionally male-dominated industry. Yes. Tell us about your experiences as far as that goes. I'm
not going to say it's been easy. It hasn't been. It's definitely been interesting. It's been colorful. It's been it's been a roller coaster, really. I've dealt with, back in the day when I started 20 plus years ago, we didn't really have teams and the only time you call someone is if you actually made a physical phone call, right? Wherein now you do it on Teams and WhatsApp and video calls and all that stuff. So I remember dealing with a lot of clients that actually didn't know I was a woman because my name doesn't give that away either, right?
Oh, right.
A lot of them actually thought I was a man until we actually met face to face. Whether I went into their office, I traveled to see them, or they were traveling here, and I have to admit, especially with the gentlemen from Asia, they'd literally, I'm not joking, they'd be like fall off the chair when I walked into the room because they all would be like stunned. So the thing they would tell me eventually is woman, Arab woman, Emirati, dressed like that. And the first thing they would when after me is the reluctance, the things like shaking hands, doing this, doing what, all of that stuff. But once you get into the conversation, they immediately connect me with the person who sent the email, with the solution, with the price, with everything. So it's not that hard to sell. It's just accepting someone like this on the other side of the table. And I hope I've got a pleasant enough personality and charm enough to to get it across. But
I think
it's been great. It's been great, but it hasn't been easy because you get underestimated and looked down on all the time. I'm not going to name names, but I've had people sort of literally put bets on how long I'm going to stay in a particular position in different organizations. And these are staff that would either report into me or be my peers. So it's not about proving a point or anything like that. It's just being good at your job. I think that's the most important thing, whether you're a man or a woman. And this industry, you're learning something new every single day from every single person in the organization, your customer side, your vendors. It's a never-ending, sort of classroom session, literally, and that helps being a woman, obviously, right? Because you can carry the message. And I think we're a little bit better at doing a lot of things than men, anyways.
Like what?
I just think we're a bit more organized, a bit more structured. My OCD is very well known in my company, but honestly speaking, it's more like, we're very meticulous because for me, I wouldn't say perfection, but I would say it's representation. I would like wherever I've worked in life, it's not only a representation of me or of my team, but also a representation of the organization that I'm working with. It's also a representation of my country. It's a whole load of things that drive individuals, right? And for me, the idea is to come up with a solution that's a win-win for both sides. And I think it's super important for people to understand it doesn't really matter who's on the other side of the table. If it's a man or a woman, regardless, right? Regardless.
And today in the Middle East, how common is it to find women in senior logistics roles?
We see a lot. We see a lot of women. I'm not trying to be biased or anything, but we see a lot of women prefer to be a little bit in the lower levels because it's a bit more controlled. They're not the longer hours and all that stuff that comes with the business. So we see a lot of them in that area. They're very hardworking women nonetheless. And we see a lot of foreign women, foreigners, like expats, working in more critical positions, which I think is super important because they bring this, completely different, diverse mindset and whatnot. When it comes to Emiratis in this part of the world, it's fairly limited. We see a lot when it comes to customs. We see a lot when it comes to port activities, those kind of things. We don't really see a lot of women on the ship or on the berth and things like that. I mean, not. A lot of them think it's a man's world. It's more on field stuff. It's getting down and dirty. It's crazy hours. It's, no sleep and, work-life balance and all that. It all... There is no work-life balance, I have to admit. Because
but you're okay with that?
Yeah, you always have something moving, somewhere, some part of the world kind of thing. And I remember telling somebody the other day, I was like, I don't trust any operation that's going smoothly. We've obviously made a mistake somewhere, because there's always challenges in what you do. I mean, the whole world is changing, the whole dynamics of it. But I think it's the lack of knowledge on the amount of intelligence you need to have to execute something, but the rewards, that is not clear yet. I think that's what stops a lot of women, not knowing what happens next. Like, where can they go after this? They all think that it might be just a desk-based job, or it's a dirty market, or it's a man's world. And I think that's what we need to change. We need to change the mindset. And the only way we can do it is if we can encourage more women, whether from different backgrounds or Emiratis, just get them more involved in logistics, not just in the port, not just in customs, but actually get involved in the hardcore, the heart of the operations, And I'm telling you, it is their minds will be blown, because this is something you cannot get out of once you're in it. It's amazing.
Let's talk about the Middle East market. What's driving demand for project cargo at the moment? And you were telling me a bit earlier how the customer base maybe have shifted, the EPCs that are active here. How's that changed in recent years?
So if I go back 2 decades when I first started, it was predominantly, like I said, the American, the European EPCs. And over the years, we've seen that they've sort of shifted their roles more to PMC and feeds level. And we're seeing a lot of other diverse EPCs coming into the market. You've got the Chinese, the Koreans, the Indians, a lot of other smaller European ones. The Spanish are obviously in there. So there's a nice little mix, and I think that's really great. The UAE represents, and the rest of the region, the whole Gulf basically, thrives on foreign talent. And I think having all of this diverse, exposure is super important. But then also it's great for trade between the two countries and economies. But if you look at the shift, it's only for the better. You're obviously not doing it for the worse, right? So I think we're looking at a lot of better standards coming in, better quality, but a lot of shift in the price. So the prices obviously got down a little bit. That has obviously impacted us as forwarders, because you're obviously looking at, leaner margins and whatnot. Those days are all gone. You have to remember as well, Luke, that when back in the day, there were probably, you could count them in one hand. All the forwarders out there in the world that did projects was in one hand. Now, it doesn't matter how many digits you've got, you're going to run out. And the EPCs are also plenty, but the jobs are just that many, right? And the market is expanding. We'll always have oil and gas here, touch wood, right? So the good thing is we will be oil and gas driven. We will always have project work here for as long as we know. However, we have a lot of mouths to feed, whether it's on the EPC side or on the project forwarding side. I think having more diverse EPCs in means that everybody can still get a slice of the pie. That's what I reckon.
And we've seen Petrofac in the news in the last couple of weeks, obviously having financial difficulties after they lost a big project. Yeah. What's your reading of that, and how concerning do you think it is for the wider EPC sector?
Right, so I have a little bit of a sensitive spot for Petrofac because I literally grew up in their offices. But just like any other EPC, I'm quite confident that they'll get out of this. They're giants in their own rights. They were one of the pioneers, one of the first ones. And you can't hold something that special. You can't hold them back. So I think it's only a matter of time before they turn things around and continue moving forward. They've been through a lot over the last couple of years, and you can't get any worse, I hope. And I'm pretty sure you'll hear some positive things in the next couple of weeks and months. So my fingers crossed for them.
And what are the biggest issues you see in the Middle East today in terms of your ability to carry out project cargo shipments?
Right. I think it's the trade situation across the world. Geopolitical, obviously, is a bit of a problem, right? We've got the Red Sea issue going on. We've got these tariff issues going on. We see a lot of these sort of indirect, we see our customers shifting from where they would usually procure to where they now procure because they've got trade lane issues or they've got, restrictions on access and things like that. So I think you need to follow that tide. You need to see where is your EPC headquartered at? Where are the conditions of procurement? Why would they deviate from that? Obviously, those all drive. But I think right now the challenges that we face here is, in my opinion, is the carriers controlling the business. There is a monopoly. We saw that monopoly surge during COVID. We've seen that monopoly surge again during the Red Sea. And now with these trade wars, these tariff issues. So I think they're sort of ganging up. You're seeing shipping lines buying aircrafts and ports buying forwarders, and the whole world is going upside down. And I feel like the true essence of being a project forwarder is somehow being diluted when you see all of this. But that's what you have to keep up with, and you can understand what that means. That means that where you would have a port authority, but now they also run a project division, and so there's competition right off the bat. How much support are you going to get at the port if you're actually competing with one of their organizations? So yeah, it's
interesting times.
Yeah, very interesting, very colourful. Yeah.
Hi, it's Aya Saeed here from Breakbulk. Thanks for checking out Voices of Breakbulk Middle East, our collaboration with PCP to celebrate the 10th anniversary of the event. For a decade, it's been the meeting point for companies driving the region's most ambitious developments, bringing together more than 10,500 industry professionals. We're looking forward to meeting everybody at Breakbulk Middle East, taking place at the Dubai World Trade Center on the 4th and 5th of February 2026. Don't forget, you can register online for your free ticket to attend. Enjoy the podcast and see you soon in Dubai.
Today's episode is brought to you in partnership with SAL, one of the world's leading carriers in the maritime transport of heavy lift and project cargo. SAL operates one of the most advanced fleets in the sector, with service speeds of up to 20 knots, dynamic positioning, fly jib capability, ice-class vessels, vast open deck space, and combined crane capacity reaching 2,000 tons. Together with SAL Intermarine, they operate around 80 multi-purpose and ultra-heavy lift vessels, supported by a global team of more than 1,200 people and 27 offices in 23 countries. Part of the Harran Group, SAL is known for quality, technical innovation, and a strong commitment to safety and environmental performance, including its latest Orca-class new build program, setting new benchmarks for green technologies. And through the JSI Alliance, customers can access a combined fleet of around 90 heavy lift, multi-purpose and offshore vessels, further strengthening their global capability. Find out more via the link in the description below. And as an Emirati, you might be a bit biased, but how do you see the Saudi versus UAE situation in terms of project development and where the real interest is going to be for you?
Right, so half of me is Emirati and the other half of me is Saudi. Not for any other reason other than Saudi is an amazing place to work. I love going to Saudi. It's my second home, literally. I think Saudi has so many opportunities. It had opportunities last 50 years. It will have opportunities for the next 50 years. There is so much to do. The country is so vast. The population is fairly large. Anything you touch can be turned to gold. It's remarkable what we can achieve in Saudi, because it's not because they're doing it for the first time, but there's just so much to do. I think if you were to ask me, the quality is a little bit not the same, but I think that's an opportunity in itself. This isn't a challenge. It's actually something you can turn around and build on. The infrastructure, everything is ripe, everything is perfect. It's just about, getting things moving, getting it done. And I think Saudi is very thirsty for solutions, quality-based solutions. And I think that's the difference between here and there, if you were to ask me.
And here the UAE is pushing for more Emirati participation in the private sector. What impact does that have?
We're seeing a lot more interest. There's the Emiratization drive is I think it's very flexible compared to some of the other GCC countries. Saudi's got its own, Oman's got its own and all of that. But I think what the UAE is trying to do is trying to foster a spirit of, developing talent. And local content is important any part of the world. It's not just here. I think developing local, the youth, giving them the drive, and also explaining to them why we need to do that. We're not trying to send people out of this country. We're not trying to drive them. Our population is still a minority, right? We need all this expat talent. We need all of this experience. We need all of these, companies to come in and train our young ones. But the truth is that we have to be responsible citizens as well, and we need to get involved in all sectors. It's not about taking the easy way, or I wouldn't say anything like that. Government jobs and private jobs, they're two completely different things. You cannot compare. But we have a bigger need in the private sector to have Emiratis than we need, obviously, in the government sector. So that's a no-brainer. But I think also pushing the generations to understand, and they are, because I remember when I was growing up, we had very limited educational options back then as well. You had a school, and if you had a college, but you never had any foreign campus or anything like that. And
really?
Today, no, we didn't.
Huge amount now.
Yeah, it's massive. You're spoiled for choice. you actually don't need to send your children anywhere. You can just get them, fully educated right here. And I think those are some of the things that we're doing to change the mindset of the younger population.
Let's talk a bit about wind and renewables, for which Blue Water is pretty well known globally. You said earlier on you will always have oil and gas here. So where does wind fit into your program and your region?
Right.
Here?
So wind is very important for us in the region. I was just discussing the same thing with the wind team the other day. And this is one of the only regions where we're not that busy. So we definitely want to do that. You know about the NEOM port operation that we've done. But we want to do a little bit more. Unfortunately, the region's not actually built for wind. It's not built for this market. The wind conditions are perfect along the west coast of Saudi Arabia, so the Jeddah side where we already have NEOM. And then we see wind conditions very good in Oman because of the hills and the valleys and whatnot. Right. And also because of the Indian Ocean, the wind's coming in from that side. So, but it has its own sets of challenges because then the market is very small. It's not like oil and gas where you've got 20 EPCs playing in that playing field. It's a little bit short, it's a little bit tighter. But we're definitely interested to be here. But we need to evaluate and see where can we add the value, right? There are a lot of my forwarder friends are also doing a lot of things in wind across the globe. And because the market is so small, what can we bring new to the table is really what it is. That's for everyone. Yeah.
And you mentioned the demand that's there in Saudi Arabia, but in other parts of the world, there's a slowdown in terms of turbine demand. So how do you view that in the round?
So one of the things that we do in wind is just not wind logistics. We also do port services. And that means that we help port companies, port authorities sort of sustain their activities at the port when it comes to wind cargo. That's one of our key points as well. We also work in setting things up for our clients. We have a lot of terminals that we help operate, that we help set up. So there are a lot of different niche things that Blue Water does that's quite well known across, you can check our website. And I think one of the important things that we do is in wind is we give the complete bouquet of services to our client to choose from. It's like a buffet. You go in, you choose what you like. It's not EPC driven. It's not that type of business, right?
So what sort of buffet is it? Is it like an expensive Dubai brunch?
Well, sometimes, yes. It depends on the geography and the nature of the work. But you have to understand there are challenges in that area as well. Wind, yes, you relate it to similar to Project Cargo, but it's not. It's very different. Those blades are super sensitive, and they're super expensive, and the timelines to move them are also quite tight. But so we see there is a market. It's a very small market, but we see the market here in the region. We feel that Blue Water is we're very interested in, and we think that we can be a part of that, and that's something that we're working towards.
And going back to you, tell us a bit about your management style. How would your colleagues here describe you?
Well, half of them would say I'm probably a dictator. The other half would say I'm probably the best boss in the world. But honestly, the way I would like to think is, and my door's always open for my team. It doesn't matter which part of the world I'm in, what time of day it is and things like that. I've started from the bottom up, Luke. So I went in as a secretary of the SVP, and within 1 month I was doing operations in Transoceanic because we were just winning so much of work. We were shorthanded. Would you mind helping out? Sure. Never look back. So, you've got to give respect to the little ones, the ones who are new, fresh, young blood. You could be older in age, but young in the field and all that stuff. And I love to give opportunities to people. I always keep telling them, your growth is my legacy, and that's how I want to leave it. And I'm very passionate about training people. That would be the greatest legacy that I could ever leave behind. And I think that's super important for me, is to give space for my people to grow, but then also create opportunities for them as well.
And I was reading some of your LinkedIn posts, and they were quite sort of motivational. How important do you think positive mindset is in this business?
Super important. Every day you drive into work thinking, okay, these are the 10 things I'm going to do today. And by the time you get to the office, it's totally another set of 20 things. And your 10 things, you're just, taking them back home again. So I think it's important for us not to look too deep into everything, sort of pace yourself, prioritize yourself, organize yourself. A lot of people tend to, my background is hardcore operations, but you also, when you're dealing with clients, you need to, and also people, right? People in your office, you need to be able to arrange things in a manner that works for everyone. And sometimes you need to shy away from business. You need to say no to business, even if the money's right, but it's not good for your team. And I've had to make those difficult decisions. But it is super, super important for everyone involved, not only in our industry, but any industry, that every day could be different. If you can accept that, and acceptance is a huge thing, right? Not set the tone of the rest of the week or the month or the year, based on one incident. No, you move on, right? You learn from it, you move on. We were human, we all make mistakes. And one thing that I've always taught my team is, it's all right to make a mistake as long as you get up and you move forward.
What are you most proud of so far in your project logistics career?
Oh, there are too many to say. One of them, probably the biggest thing I would say is, being who I am in this industry. It hasn't been easy. I come from an Emirati family where for many, many years, a lot of them, my extended family, for instance, they'd be like, why are you even doing this? Why don't you just get a government job, or something, get something easier, right? And my parents initially were a little bit, this is a bit too much. It's like 9:30 in the night. Are you coming home or what? And now it's very different because they see that I enjoy what I do. But I think it's very important for people to know that it's not easy for anyone to succeed in any area. We all need to focus on what we want, what makes us happy. And if you can enjoy what you're doing, it doesn't matter where in the world or what age you're at or anything like which industry it is. I think the most important thing is to just have fun and make sure that you have a lot of positivity around you. And make sure that you have the right representation of your company and who you truly are. And that's the best thing that came out of all of this. It's building up solutions during COVID, building up solutions when nobody else could come in and do that. And just too many things, Luke, unfortunately. 20 plus years, I probably have to write a book at some point, but yeah.
Oh, you should.
I should, right?
And what do you like doing outside of work?
Oh,
when you're not refurbishing your house?
When I said this to someone the other day, they're like, the answer is very simple. Work some more. But the truth is, no, I've shifted, right? Ever since I've come to Blue Water, and it's not because there isn't enough work here or anything like that. There's always work here. But I've realized because Blue Water is also very family-oriented and very people-focused, it's a very strong Danish culture, very Scandinavian culture, which I think is perfect, where you have to have a work-life balance. They really push for that. I've realized that the only thing I need outside of work is family. So there would be days where I'd reach home and just toss my work phone somewhere and forget where it is for half a day or something like that. But I think what you'd find me doing really is not only spending time with family, but I love watching sports. I'm trying to take up golf.
How are you getting on?
Yeah, I've bought the gear and everything. I've got my irons, but I haven't really gone down. Well, the weather isn't, but yeah, you see me around Topgolf somewhere sometime. But yeah, I think we all need to get out of it. When I was younger, it was different. As I'm maturing, as I'm aging and I'm moving forward, I've realized there's some things you just don't compromise on. Family is one of them, that's for sure. But also my own well-being, which I've only learned in Blue Water. That my own well-being, my own health, my own mental happiness is super, super important. So we drive that a lot in the organization. So
absolutely,
super critical.
And in the next couple of weeks, we've got Breakbulk Middle East coming up. Tell us about your involvement in the event over the years and how you found it, what you've got out of it.
Sure. So, as you know, where all I've worked, we've obviously, you can check my CV on LinkedIn, but everywhere that I work, we've always been part of Breakbulk. Breakbulk is super important. I've been to other Breakbulk events across the globe, and it's a networking event, Luke, but it's also, it has changed a bit, I would say. I would say a lot of deals used to be made in Breakbulk now. So for me in the Middle East, and we're very young here in the Middle East when it comes to Breakbulk, I see it more of a networking place. Everybody wants to be seen here. Everybody wants to go down there and sort of reconnect. Even if you met them last week at the bar, or even if you went out for dinner the other night, you still want to meet up. And every time you see them, it's like, you meet as if you're meeting them for after many years. But it's a very important event, and it's a great place for people to come together. And we're seeing it getting bigger and bigger, year after year. Ben can tell you that as well, right? But just see the footfall, the size, and even the levels of forwarders exhibiting, right? And also different port authorities. You're seeing a lot of different port authorities coming in. You're seeing a lot of other players coming in, hauliers coming in. We're seeing a lot of Chinese companies exhibiting, for instance. We're also seeing a lot of African market, people from that market coming in. So we're seeing a lot of people coming into Breakbulk Middle East because it is the hub. The Middle East is the hub, north, south, east, west. This is the middle of everything. And we're seeing either your clients are either based here, or the cargo's coming out of here, or your cargo's moving through here. There's some touch point got to do with the Middle East. And I think that's why you're seeing a lot of diverse people coming in, but also a lot of new ideas and new equipment and all of that good stuff. And I think Breakbulk is a great place to do that. And I know it's going to keep growing. I'm very excited to see where it goes next. But the team is great, and the event is super, super important. And as usual, we have a full house this in 2026 as well. We've got a lot of people coming in, super for chartering as well, and it's great for the project forwarding world overall, but just great to meet your clients and your vendors in one place.
Absolutely. So this will be the 10th anniversary of Breakbulk Middle East. And just to close, when we meet again for the 20th anniversary, assuming you'll still be here, what do you hope might have changed in the industry and for you at Blue Water?
Well, I want to be in Blue Water. Where I'll be in Blue Water, that's another story. But I definitely want to be in Blue Water. I want to be in Blue Water for as long as they will have me. In the market, in this region, in the industry overall, I think we'll still be discussing, identical challenges because of the geopolitical situation around the globe. But I also think that we'll be tapping into new solutions, and we'll have maybe new solution providers coming into the picture as well. You could see a lot more infrastructure development, and so you might have a lot more ease to do things, moving them A to B. I also think that we would be seeing a lot of AI, digitization, a lot of that stuff, technology coming in. We're moving in that direction overall, and I think we're going to see more and more of that in our industry. I'm not saying that, your packers are not going to be robots and things like that, but we're all seeing automated warehousing, for instance. So somewhere along the supply chain, it's already there. But I really think, for example, a GCC rail, that's so exciting, where you're reducing your carbon footprint, but also making it so easy to just put something onto on a wagon and just have it, go from one area to another. So many things to look forward to, in the coming decade, really. And I think by that time, I'd be really excited to see how big Breakbulk, the event itself, becomes. And, it's super exciting. I've seen forwarders, very small local forwarders, have tiny little booths years ago, and now they have these massive booths, with fancy lights, disco lights and things like that. It's really great. Everybody's growing. Everybody's having fun, and I think that's how it should be. Everybody should.
Good to see people grow with the event.
Absolutely, 100%. They're friends, but they're also competition at times, and that's fine because it's a fair market. You just have to fight for what you want, and it's great because it's great for the economy. It's great for talent. It's great for expanding footprints. For all of us.
Exciting times.
Very, very.
Humeira, thanks so much for coming in. It was great to talk to you.
My pleasure, Luke. Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Thank you.